Hello there guys, and welcome to Mad Doc Mini. It's got a very quick and easy conversion for you in this video. I've got myself an extra Leviathan Terminator Captain, which I'm going to turn into a Chaplain. There wasn't a Chaplain in the Leviathan box, which kind of offended me if I'm honest. So I'm going to do something about that, and I haven't actually got a Chaplain in Terminator armor, so here we go. Now it comes with a scenic base. Now I'm not going to actually use that because, well, A, I've got the Terminator Captain anyway from the Leviathan box. If they're both on exactly the same base, it's going to look weird. Also, I'm not really into scenic bases, if I'm honest, especially ones that really tie it to a specific surrounding. It's just not my thing, the whole diorama on a base thing, so I'm happy to get rid of that. The pegs on the feet actually line up perfectly with the slots intended for the base. Don't know if that's intentional, but they do. So I use that as a guide. I keep the pegs on and just glue him into that position because it's quite a nice position on the base anyway. So once I put a bit of super glue down there and let him set, I will move on to the head. And by the way, you'd be well advised to use plastic cement rather than super glue. It's just a habit of mine that isn't going away. I just prefer super glue. So the head is from the Primaris Chaplain on bike, which is one of the better Chaplain helmets currently available, I think. And I happen to have a spare one of these because my wife bought me the kit not knowing I already had it. So that was, you know, a bonus. I had some nice bits to use, and that's a really, really nice helmet. So we're going to use that one in this conversion. But first, we need to clear out that kind of head hole on the carapace. It's got a peg in the back for the intended head, and that needs to come out. Don't do what I'm doing here and use big chunky clippers. Use a little scalpel or a precision blade to take that out because you'll cause damage, which is exactly what I did to the rim around the head socket there. There we are. So once that's gone, we're going to need to make some modifications to that head. So the peg on the bottom definitely needs to go, and the whole thing needs to be trimmed down because the kind of neck rings need to go as well. You know, the kind of like the undersuit bit underneath the helmet there. Trim that down nice and flat. You may need to take a little bit off the back of the helmet and a tiny bit off the top where the rivets are as well. But just do what you think you need to. Go slowly and only take as much as you really think you need to take off because you can't really put it back on very easily, obviously. So yeah, small modifications here and there, lots of back and forth, you know, trying out the position, and that really does the job. After that, the head actually sits in there quite nicely. It's maybe a little bit forwards, but it doesn't really bother me. But you could chop a little bit more off the back if you wanted it more inset into the Terminator armour. I don't glue it down at this stage because I haven't decided on the overall pose, but just showing you what it looks like. So moving on, we need to think about the Chaplain's weapon. Now this is again from that biker kit, and since I'm chopping that kit up anyway, I decided to use that one. It's actually a really nice design as well. So I take the kind of Captain's sword that comes with the Terminator and just chop that off right above the hand with a sharp knife. See that sword go flying there? I think it was on its way to Saturn, but managed to retrieve that one, so I can put that in the bits box. And also take off the hilt underneath. And just trim that down with a sharp blade, making it nice and smooth, getting rid of any sticky out bits there. And you can probably tell where I'm going with this. I'm actually going to alter the Chaplain's weapon and put that in the place of the sword, essentially. Now, you really need to go careful with this sort of stuff, guys, and you'd be very, very well advised to actually pin this. I'm not going to do that. I'm not too much of a gamer, so I know this thing isn't going to get chucked around a lot. If you're a gamer, you really need to consider pinning and using plastic cement in the right places. Pinning actually requires super glue if you're going to use a metal pin, of course, but you know what I mean. So careful alignment with the hand here. This took a little bit of time, and I didn't really get it perfect, if I'm honest, but I got it to a level that I was willing to accept. Let's put it that way. You can line up the handle underneath as well. But definitely take your time if you're doing this. You know, those sort of things, if they're really off kind of center, definitely will catch the eye. So I'm just kind of putting the arm on to get an idea of the overall pose. And of course I need to glue on the kind of back end of the Chaplain's weapon there onto the other side of the hand, just to give it that extra kind of length and make it look proper. There's a little leather strap on the bottom of this one. I just bend that round to make it look like it's flopping down because of course this is an entirely different pose from the one on the bike. So I just need to make that look like it was having an effect with gravity and all the rest of it. That was easily done, just bent it with my fingers. Careful alignment as much as I could kind of stick really, and that's kind of what I ended up with. The head then went in, and I just made sure that that kind of went in a good way that fitted the rest of the pose, really, and that is it. So we don't have a Chaplain shoulder pad, unfortunately, but that's fine. You know, I don't need that. This looks enough like a Chaplain to please me. Really simple conversion, but I'm really happy I now have a proper Terminator Chaplain in my collection. Decided not to paint him up for the video because no one comes to my channel for painting advice. I know that. So you can get a nice look at him when he's all primed in the Rathbone here. If you've enjoyed the content, guys, please consider liking and sharing. It really does help my channel to grow. And if you're not already subscribed, consider giving me a sub. Really do appreciate all the support. I hope you like this guy. I'm quite pleased with it. For a very simple conversion that took mere minutes to do, I think he came out quite well. Let me know what you think in the comments, and thanks ever so much for joining me. Cheers.